is in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jimmy, how are you?
Yeah, Larry, I'm doing well. Hey, when they go around at the cabinet meetings with Trump and kind of drool over him North Korean style, are you kind of embarrassed by that?
Is that your question? Were you embarrassed to watch Joe Biden drool for 4 years? Were you embarrassed to watch Joe Biden stumble going up and down the stairs? Were you embarrassed to watch Joe Biden trip on the stage? Were you embarrassed to watch Joe Biden avoid taking a cognitive test? Are you embarrassed that Trump took it and passed it with flying colors? Are you embarrassed the way Joe Biden pulled out of Afghanistan, leaving behind $7 billion of equipment? Leaving behind hundreds of Americans, thousands of Afghans, 13 service members killed at Abbey Gate, several more injured, thousands of Afghans killed. Very likely encourage Putin to invade Ukraine. Very likely encourage Hamas to slaughter Israelis on October 7. Are you embarrassed that Joe Biden said nobody told him that the Taliban would come back and that the Afghan government would dissolve, even though generals testified under oath that that was exactly the advice that he was given? Are you embarrassed that former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers, Democrat, served under Bill Clinton, told Joe Biden that all the spending would be inflationary? He did it anyway. Are you embarrassed we had 9% inflation? Are you embarrassed that gas prices under Joe Biden were 50% higher than under Donald Trump when he came into office? Are you embarrassed that all of these Democrats and much of the media covered up for Biden's cognitive decline? Are you embarrassed that Mike Johnson, the speaker, said that he'd had a private conversation with Joe Biden finally after all the aides were dismissed? He said, "Mr. President, please explain to me why you signed an executive order banning the export of LNG, liquefied natural gas." And Biden said, "I didn't do that." He said, "Mr. President, yes, you did." "No, I didn't." He goes, oh, I know what I did. I signed an executive order to study this." He said, "No, you didn't." Does that embarrass you? None of this stuff embarrasses you. Are you embarrassed that for 4 years we were told you needed comprehensive immigration reform in order to close the southern border? Are you embarrassed that Donald Trump succeeded in closing the border in 30 days without any new legislation? Are you embarrassed by any of this? Are you embarrassed by all the waste, the fraud, and the abuse that Trump and Doge are finding? Does any of this stuff embarrass you? I'm serious.
Larry Elder, man, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Larry Elder. Celeste, I'll give you the first word on this. Go with it wherever you want to go. What are your thoughts?
The poor gentleman who called. First of all, I would have loved to have heard his answer. That would be very interesting. And I think the problem here is that people don't understand the difference. If you remember back in Trump's first term in 2016, that was the leakiest White House that we had ever seen in modern history. Everybody who went into a meeting with Trump walked out of the meeting or was texting throughout the meeting, and the man couldn't say boo before it was already hitting the papers and all over the airwaves. He had no one, apparently, who had any loyalty to him, who could keep anything confidential, who could allow him to work through an issue and talk through an issue and maybe weigh both sides of the consequences of an issue. Everything was out in less than 3 seconds after he said it. So I think this time around, what he tried to do was not get people who were loyal to him, but people in the GOP MAGA who are loyal to the ideology and the principles of conservatism and to his policy. And I think a lot of people mistake that loyalty to conservatism and to the policies as sycophantic loyalty towards Trump, because I think that's exactly what they have on the other side. And where you are devoid of policy and principle, what you do have is the person. And that's who they hold up. That's the problem with the MAGA base, which is why they cannot destroy the MAGA base. All of this, MAGA's dead, MAGA's weak, MAGA's down for the count. Don't believe any of that, because MAGA's not loyal to Trump. MAGA is happy about Trump. They appreciate Trump, but MAGA is loyal to conservatism. And they were conservative before Trump. You can go back to the Tea Party, and they will be conservative after Trump. And what they're looking for in a leader is someone to match their level of conservatism, not like on the other side where they're looking, the voters are trying to match the liberalism and the leftism of the leaders.
I would agree. AT, what are your thoughts, bro?
I'm always impressed by the hypocrisy from the left, especially when it comes to this blind hatred and attacking of President Trump, while for 4 years there was complete ignoring and head in the sand when it came to Biden. And Larry Elder absolutely just peeled this individual apart. You know he left and cried. You know he absolutely did not have a good day, because I could tell he wanted to just get an attack off of his chest, and we see this very often on the left. Orange man bad. President Trump is awful. He's a rapist. He's a felon. And they just have these little punch taglines. And the second that you actually peel apart that onion, and if we want to talk about character, if we want to talk about results, we have to look at the previous administration. Not necessarily for the traumatic and miraculous failures, let's be completely honest with you, but for the fact that individuals in this country were willing to excuse everything and anything, as long as it meant that they were comfortable and secure with their winner and their champion in office. And the second that that tail is flipped, suddenly we don't know how to have actual conversations anymore. And I agree with what Celeste is saying. What I notice is on the left, there's a lot of ad hominem attacks, there's a lot of emotionality, there's a lot of identity politics. And once you're done firing that bullet out there and someone doesn't retreat, because we expect someone to run away when we say, well, you're racist, or you're homophobic, or you're ignorant, or you support a felon. When someone doesn't run away and wants to have that conversation, there's the inability to do so, because we have used for 4 years previous administration emotions to run decision making and to control a country. And now we have individuals on the right who, with an overwhelming majority, by the way, came out and said, hey, look, we want to actually get to the root of the issues. We're tired of this cartoonish world, the way that liberals are painting it, and we want to have some semblance of stability and structure moving forward. I think Larry Elder handled this absolutely perfectly. He didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't curse the man out. He was a little bit surprised someone wasted his time with that question, but he gave nothing but facts. And as someone, I'm sure you'll appreciate this too, Wise, I will have a very hard time looking past what happened in Afghanistan, probably the greatest failure I've seen in my entire lifetime when it comes to a president. And if you're not willing to talk about this and you're on the left, and you don't have the objectivity or the emotional maturity to talk about what's going on the right.
I would agree. It was really sad, what happened out in Afghanistan. What's even sadder is the fact that mainstream media, kind of brushed it under the rug like it was, much ado about nothing. They didn't actually go at. Could you imagine this current administration or the administration prior to the Biden-Harris administration allowing something like this type of debacle? I mean, it would be nonstop wall-to-wall coverage about how much of a failure the administration is, and it would be nonstop wall-to-wall coverage about the soldiers that were lost. I mean, it would be crazy. They would still be talking about it every time they would bring it up. Every time they get an opportunity to bring it up. I think everybody knows this.
They would have impeached Trump in a heartbeat if they had done that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to play this clip here because this is from CNN. And it goes right back, ties into what Celeste was saying. And I want to play this for you guys, and then we'll get Grasso and Crystal in on the conversation.
So is the president losing Republicans?
No. Look, this is still Donald Trump's Republican Party, and we can see it here. It's like a rock, to quote Bob Seger. I mean, take a look here. Republicans who approve of Trump. 6 months ago, it was 87%. Now, well, hello, it's the same number. It's 87%. He has not lost any support among Republicans compared to 6 months ago. As I said at the beginning, he's like a rock. He's like a rock. The Republican base is sticking by Donald Trump at this point in time.
It really is interesting to watch his overall approval rating go down, 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 but see this be completely constant here.
It is among independents. It is not among Republicans.
Okay, so how does this compare to past presidents in a second term?
Yeah, okay. I think this gives the game away, right? Which is Donald Trump, if you look at 21st century presidents, own party approval at this point in term two. Who leads the pack? It's Donald John Trump.
Where's Biden at? you notice how they omitted Biden, right? I bet it's probably in the toilet, but yeah.
87% of Republicans approve of Donald John Trump. You go back to 2013, 78% of Democrats supported Barack Obama, and it was 78% of Republicans who supported George W. Bush back in 2005 at this point. So Donald Trump has the biggest own party, highest own party approval of any president who served their entire second term in the 21st century.
You could look at this one of two ways. You could say, obviously, he's doing way better than past presidents. Or you could say, there is still room to settle. If there is a reversion to the mean here, if that does fall further, that could chip into his overall approval rating. Okay, Marjorie Taylor Greene, resigning from Congress.
Yeah, and I forgot, this is term 2. Never mind. Disregard the first statement. Get in there, Crystal. What are your thoughts?
I think Larry Elder dropped bars. I felt like it was a whole rap battle. The way Larry Elder was just dropping bars on that man, and it's like he didn't even have to think twice. He knew exactly what he was saying. He pointed out all the facts, and I think that's what the difference between the people on the left and the people on the right. The people on the right, they come with facts, and the people on the left come with emotion. So, everybody, they love their Biden. Up to now, I still don't understand why, but they do. And Trump, you really can't argue with facts. The numbers is right there in front of you. You see what's going on, you see what's happening. And then you could look back at what was going on with Biden. Like you said, falling down the stairs, drooling everywhere, like all of these things. Every time you turn around, Biden was eating the ice cream or riding a bike, like one of those two things. And
Or at the beach.
At the beach, something that matter. And the thing is exactly what you and AT was saying, because I've had a Gold Star mom on my panel on TikTok, and it just breaks her heart because no one, they really didn't want to talk about that. They wanted to sweep that under the rug like it never existed. And the one thing I realized about these people is that their favorite thing is don't look at what we do. Look at Trump. Don't look at anything that we've ever done. Don't look at the bad that we've done. Don't talk about the bad that we've ever done. Just please look at Trump. Let's blame Trump for everything. Even the bad that we've done, somehow or other, it's Trump's fault. So I love that Larry just pulled it all out. I agree with AT. He must have had a moment. He thought, he said his name proudly on the call-in, and then he was embarrassed very quickly. And he probably went inside and had to shed a few tears for his embarrassment. Because, usually people on the left, the men are usually rather sensitive. So he probably was crying.
Or he probably just hung up. As soon as he dropped the first
That's
couple
what I
bullet
think.
points, dude hung up the phone like, I got to get out of here. Grasso, what are your thoughts, bro?
The more I talk with people, the more I understand how the majority of people in this world today live in information funnels. The way AI is programmed, that when you start watching something or you start clicking on something, or even if you stare at something in a certain amount of time, AI starts making data points, and then it starts figuring out what you like or what you're interested in, and it just keeps force feeding you that information only. And then this hatred starts to build for the other side, because you're only hearing one side of a story every single time, and that side usually demonizes the opposite. That gentleman thought for sure he could come to Larry Elder and get him with a gotcha question or try to embarrass him. But then when Larry came back with those facts, the man didn't want to believe what he was hearing. It doesn't matter what Larry had said. Larry could have said truth for a solid straight hour and it would not have mattered, because the man doesn't care, because that's not what he was. His intent was to try to embarrass Larry. Wasn't about trying to learn anything, because his information funnel has been force feeding him a certain narrative, and that's all he wants to hear. And it's very hard for human beings, once they've bought into information or to any story, once they've bought into it, to admit that it is wrong or to admit that it is false means that they have to admit to themselves that they've been duped, and to admit that and then admit that they are ignorant to certain information that they've not had a privilege of having. And that's very hard, because that's a self-adjustment. And as long as they keep getting this force-fed information through this funnel, it's very hard for them to change their mind. And so, like you said, I mean, yes, Larry came with the facts. Larry said a lot of truth there, because truth is absolute. But that doesn't mean that the man's going to accept it, because it makes him feel a certain way. that he's not used to feeling. It was definitely a fun clip. I mean, because Larry just bounced right into him, just threw it right back at him. He never even hesitated. But I don't know what progress that made for any person that doesn't listen to the information funnel that Larry is providing.
I understand your sentiment. But what I will say is this. One, I think Larry Elder is used to this. He is a Californian. He is a California conservative. So skin's probably bulletproof at this point. And he's probably used to crazy people calling in, asking silly questions. And the way he got into that, it's almost like he had that bullet point, seared into his brain. He had all of those bullet points and he just started running down the list. What does encourage me is the fact that, one, this individual actually called in and asked a question, which lets me know that this dude's actually listening. So he may, there may be a little seed planted in there. You just never know. You just never know, because the fact that the guy called in makes me think that, maybe he just hate listening, potentially. Maybe he'll learn something. I don't know.
Or it could have been planned that he come on there because people like Jerry Springer.
Yeah, true.
People love the Jerry Springer show. And as long as you keep force feeding the populace that, they'll keep eating it alive.
Well, I think people should probably know not to try to bring the smoke to Larry Elder. Did you see him at the Breakfast Club? And the way he handled Charlamagne the Fraud and what's her name? Teslin Figueroa. The way he handled those two, oh man, masterclass. He'll never get invited back to the Breakfast Club. Never. And he'll probably never get invited to any of those types of platforms anymore because Larry Elder, obviously 70-plus-year-old man, experienced a lot. And, he's been in this space for a long time. So I think he's 100% built for it.
Yeah, there's not a question that he hasn't been asked before, I don't think.
For sure.
He's
been in some hostile environments.
He's heard them all.
To be a conservative in California, I would assume, especially in the LA area, he's probably dealing with some kooky creatures on a day-to-day basis.
Don't rush the Maryland's the same way.
Yeah, we are, unfortunately.
We've been Democrat for over 100 years, brother.
What are your thoughts? Hit that like button, share this video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notifications on to all so you never miss an upload. Consider joining the ARP family or buy your brother a coffee. That link's in the description box below. And as always, keep God first, stay prayed up. We'll catch up with you all next time. Peace.
Vibes so raw, can't hide the truth. Words so sharp,